Welcome to Richard and Greg, a channel dedicated to discussion, debate and argument on a whole array of topics. The royal family has always intrigued, excited or at least created curiosity amongst all people from around the world. Even those who dislike the whole concept of royalty are still nevertheless intrigued by its overwhelming nature and the interest that so many hundreds of millions of people have in what is, to be frank, a relatively small group of people. It's not going to be too long before the British people have a new king, in that our Queen, though relatively healthy for her age, is currently 93, and so, quite likely only, has a few years left ahead of her. Her successor, eldest son Prince Charles, at 71, is no spring chicken either, and so perhaps in less than maybe one generation, we may see 3 different monarchs sitting on the throne, as his son, William, is a more modest 37 years old and will succeed Prince Charles. But it is William's younger brother Harry we propose to discuss with Greg today. Now, Harry has recently made it clear, allegedly because of the abuse his wife Meghan Markle has suffered at the hands of a pervasive and arguably discriminating media, wishes to give up most of his royal duties and public funding for them both to make their own way in the world together, splitting their time living in North America and the United Kingdom. However, before notifying the Queen of this adventure, they had already set up a business brand called Sussex Royal, and many believe would make hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, or sterling, capitalizing on their fame and fortune and links to the royal family. However, much of this may not now come about, as they have been refused to use any brand with the word royal in it. And this could seriously scupper the vast fortune they were likely and planned to make. Now, that said, of course, they're not going to end up on the poverty line either. So let's listen to Richard and Greg discussing what on earth possessed them to do this, and what the eventual outcome is likely to be. And for those of you interested in any form of royal paraphernalia or trinkets or memorabilia, we have placed some links in the description box below, which if you click on them and make a purchase, we will earn a small commission, which will help us to develop this channel further. So let's listen to the discussion. Good afternoon, Greg.
Good afternoon, and the sun still shineth. I don't know what's gone wrong here.
The planet is warming, Greg. You know that, it's warming. Even Prince Charles has declared that his climate change warnings are coming to fruition. We're all going to burn. Right, Harry and Meghan, talking of Prince Charles, headline today in the BBC reporting, Harry and Meghan to end use of Sussex Royal brand. Let me just read a few lines. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are to stop using their Sussex Royal brand from spring 2020. The couple had been in discussions with aides and senior royals about using the name following their decision this year to step back from royal duties. But a spokesman for the couple said it was agreed the word royal could not be used due to government rules. Applications to trademark the Sussex Royal brand have also been withdrawn. The couple's popular Instagram account uses the name Sussex Royal, as does their website. A spokesman for the Sussexes said they were focused on plans to establish their new organization in the spring, but they had agreed not to name it the Sussex Royal Foundation. Greg, for the benefit of our listeners, many of whom are not from the United Kingdom, so won't really be fully aware of the Sussex Royal situation. Can you give us a brief history of what's been going on, what is now likely to happen, and your take on the whole situation?
One has to feel sorry for the naivete of this young couple, in that they thought they could quit all their duties, and the ones that they didn't much like doing, and retain all the benefits. A woke world, no less, and probably the greatest and best known examples of woke behavior that we've seen for a very long time. This is me, isn't it? They're upset at the fact that they're being denied the right to use the title royal in their brand name, and calling it a foundation implies to me that it is a charity. It's only an implication of it being a charity. It isn't an outright statement. But I do question whether it is ethical to call what would appear to be a purely commercial enterprise a charity, or imply that it is one. So I think that they have shot themselves in both feet with their woke assumption that the world revolved around them. The royal family is in existence over many centuries, and it has an established brand for an established product. For them to now suddenly want to commercialize it seems really rather cheapskate. They should have looked back to the Queen's uncle, who married an American divorcee and decided he didn't want to be king. He found himself, when he abdicated from his royal duties, minded that he was the king when he abdicated, although he had not had his coronation. He found that he was exiled from these United Kingdoms, and to some extent rightly, because one of the great problems of having two people alive who have the same duties is that you have them in conflict. He left the country and lived abroad for the rest of his life with his wife, just as I think Harry and Meghan will eventually do. I don't think they're entitled to the royal in their title for their commercial products. What is royal about it? Oh, one member of them genetically has royal blood. Well, whoopee-doo.
Well, Greg, do you not think perhaps at least their intent is highly hypocritical then? Because clearly they wanted to avoid the royal duties for whatever reason, and whether we'll find out the truth behind this or not, I very much doubt. And yet they wish to capitalize on it. Now, they've got enough money, surely, between them to live a very comfortable life and perhaps do the odd speech or two. Why do you think they were looking at this brand? Is it greed? Do they want to become billionaires rather than multi-millionaires? What's it all about?
It does look very much like greed, because they could have quietly gone away and, shall we say, done their own thing with the tremendous support of the British people and probably the Americans and the Canadians, and they would have had no problem. However, they were totally assumed what they were going to do. It is little known that they were registering trade names and brand names last summer. They didn't have the courtesy, fundamental common courtesy, to discuss that with their family, who quite blatantly own title to royal. They've shot themselves in the foot and have no one to blame but themselves. Meghan Markle was welcomed to this country by all but a tiny lunatic minority. Quite honestly, I'd watched Suits on television for many years, and it really didn't register that she was, in fact, not Caucasian. A, because it wasn't very noticeable, and B, because who the hell cares? When she married into the royal family, she was welcomed by all. Yes, lunatic few may well have made racist comments about her, just as they would in any country on the planet. I've had racist comments made about me because I'm white. I really couldn't give a damn. Why would I be offended? It's the truth. I'm white. Or what passes for white in the language. I'm actually a pretty sort of sallow pink, but like most Caucasians. But I don't care what people call me. It is entirely up to me whether I take offense. You cannot offend a person. They can only take offense at what you're saying. It's easier for me if somebody is making unpleasant comments about me. Just ignore them. Consider the source. I think Harry and Meghan have made a monumental mess of what was going to be marginally complicated, but was going to be perfectly straightforward in the end, which was they would go away, they would set up their own business, and they would trade that business. Harry is believed in his own right currently to have somewhere in the region of 32 million sterling. His wife is thought to be worth probably around about 4 or 5 million, and they want to go alone and create their own income. Well, that's not a bad starter.
I want to delve a little deeper because I have a theory. I'm not saying it's an accurate one, and it's one that the British press are not pushing. At the moment, a lot of people have blamed Meghan, saying she has corrupted the prince. She has persuaded him to leave his royal duties. She has persuaded him to give up basically his heritage. She has been the negative source in his life. But how about this theory, Greg, which, as I say, no one has mentioned? It takes two to tango. That's the first point. Secondly, as you already mentioned, they have quite a substantial asset portfolio already. But clearly, the setting up of all of this was to earn considerably more in the future. Has it not dawned on you that perhaps the prince is fed up of playing second fiddle to his brother William, and who, let's be blunt, will get all of the exposure, all of the praise, all of the recognition, and the only way that he can compete would to become so wealthy in his own right, a billionaire rather than 100 millionaire, if you like, for the want of a better expression, so that he can match his brother on his own terms?
I think that's a possibility. What a sad life. He was born the second son. Every family in these United Kingdoms, where we have primogeniture and have always had primogeniture, for those not aware of it, that is where the inheritance automatically, whether it be of a title or of land and assets, automatically goes to the eldest child. One of the advantages of that is we do manage to have built large estates that are stable and productive. The problem with not having primogeniture is, as with France, where most of the large estates that have existed have been separated between 1, 2, or 10 children and are now down to the size of postage stamps. And the owner of the title that was inherited is now running a cafe in the local village. And his wife is doing most of the farming on their postage stamp, not very productive farm, which gives rise to massive poverty in the rural areas of France. So those are the two systems. We have primogeniture in this country. It is not common in continental Europe. He was born into an exceedingly wealthy family. He was born as the second son of the heir. He is, in his own right, wealthy. He will inherit many benefits and assets when his father dies. But his brother will inherit the title. Well, you can't win them all. I'm not going to inherit anything. That doesn't make me sour and miserable and attack any other members in my increasingly diminished family. I think he is being, to some extent, woke, dog in a manger, irrational, and has shot himself in the foot. I am sure he would have got all the help in the world from his family, his friends, and the peoples of Britain, who had a great affection for him and for his new wife, and were very pleased to see him happily married. However, he went off in a little snit of his own, and so be it. If that's what he wants out of life, he's welcome. But he's welcome to do it on his own. And I don't see that we owe him anything. He's not even very important anymore because he is no longer a working member of the royal family. He is just an ordinary bod who is going out there to make a lot of money on his own account, starting with the lot of money that he has already inherited and accrued because of fortune of birth. Sorry, no time for it.
Do you think they'll come back, Greg? Do you think they'll realise that now, without being able to use the royal brand, it will be tougher than he thought? We've already heard comments that he's unhappy that he's had to give up some of his military positions, which he was hoping to keep. Do you think this will just last for a year or two and then he'll come scurrying back? Or do you think this is forever?
If he came back, he would be vanishing into complete oblivion. I think that would be an admission of the stupidity of the manner in which they have behaved that would be a step too far. It would be too big a lump of pride to swallow.
The only difference I have with you is that the one thing that could happen, which could cause him being accepted if he were to come back, and that is if the pair of them were to separate and divorce.
I don't think that would help him.
People may be more forgiving, Greg.
That may be the case, but I think that I don't believe that Meghan Markle had sufficient presence, clout, whatever you want to call it, to sway Harry. I don't think he is that simple-minded. This is somebody who has done 2 tours of duty in a war zone, has acquitted himself well, has no major problem, has a competent understanding of the vagaries of young women. There's no doubt of that from his history. And I think that it took 2 to create the marriage. He is as responsible for that, making that marriage work, as anybody. And I don't think there is any kudos to be gained by him in having a divorce. That would be yet another failure. So he'd have failed in business and failed in life. And I think that would be rather too great a failure to wish on him, even though Meghan Markle comes from a dysfunctional family. You can hardly call Harry's family the most functional going, can you?
You might say that, Greg, but I couldn't possibly comment. And on that note, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if so, kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of our videos as and when they are published. And also in the description box below, we place links to certain books, articles, and programs which you may find of benefit, and for which we will receive a small commission should you purchase through our link. And this will help support our channel and to enable us to develop it further.